Now, I talked about earlier that Agile is about incrementals and iterations, right? So what does that even mean? Well, incrementals and iterations just means this. Incremental means you build one thing at a time, like you're painting a Mona Lisa and you do one of the top at a time. That's basically incrementals. And iterative is basically coming out with different versions of your product um, through different iteratives. So a good example for those who's been on this product school journey, we've built the curriculum incrementally, basically one topic at a time. And basically that's how it worked. Right now we're week 12. So one topic at a time incrementally. But the iteratively, which is basically talking to you guys, understanding what you want, and then I customize and refine some of the details as we go along the way. So changing the way that I do the quizzes, that's an iterative approach. But we've done the quizzes up front. So that's an incremental approach. So those are the two differences. And to learn Agile, especially for those who's been into corporates that learned the SAFe method, I did the SAFe method too. I got trained, did all the CSPO, all that stuff, but it's confused me a while because they never really teach you the mindset of an Agile. They only teach you the process of Agile. But throughout the years, what I realized is to learn Agile properly, 90% of that is the mindset of Agile, and then the 10% of that is actually just the processes that you use. So to learn Agile properly, you have to approach it in this perspective. Learn the mindset, which is the Agile manifesto, the Agile principles. And then once you learn these two things, you can actually learn multiple practices as it comes along. And then you'll be able to create different frameworks as well. And let me go through in detail of what that means. So Agile Manifesto, I'm sure a lot of you have done Agile training in the past. This is the Agile Manifesto that you see. You can also Google it. It's agilemanifesto.org. And it's all translated in multiple languages and so on. And basically what a manifesto is like the Bible of Agile practices. Every single practice, everything that's based on these 4 key principles. And these 4 key principles are like individuals and interactions over processes and tools, working software over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, reporting to change over following the plan. Now, these basically are the 4 principles that every single Agile team adheres to. Now, there's a fine print that never gets read out, which is this part. There's value in the items on the right. We value on the things on the left more. So what does that mean? That means Agile does not mean there's no documentation. There's a thing here, working software over documentation. It doesn't mean that you don't do documentation. It means you do things in order of priority. It means you should have individuals and interactions first before you follow a process and a tool to execute. You should have working software first, get it out the door, and then you come back and you document the software, how it works. You should have customer collaboration first, talk to people first, before you negotiate the ins and out of a contract or the ins and out of an API schema. Same thing, respond to change first. Great, awesome, let's just respond. And then we'll follow our plan to execute it. So look at the Agile Manifesto as the order of priority, as not a yes or no. It's not like do or do not. So do this first, and then you do the second thing. So that's a common misconception when learning about Agile. The second thing is once you learn these values, what you quickly realize is like, well, how do I do working software over documentation, or like how do I do collaboration? Well, that's where the 12th principle behind Agile comes in. So this is the 12th principle that tells you exactly what you should do. For example, right? Take this one. The first example is our highest priority is to satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of working software. So what they're saying is that, great, we should have working software first and basically solving customer problems, have early and continuous delivery of working software. And then I think about, daily stand-ups. Why do you do daily stand-ups? Well, it's because of principle number 4. Business people and developers must work together on a daily basis throughout the project, right? Another principle that you're going to come across is, working software is the primary measure of progress, right? This is actually talking about working software over comprehensive documentation. And also another one is about simplicity. The art of maximizing amount of work not done is essential. So this is talking about the iterative and incremental mindset, but they can all be summarized into this neatly put together infographic that I didn't put together. But yeah, basically it's all about understanding the customer, responding to change, deliver frequently, working together, supporting each other, having conversations, working software, um, having a sustainable development pace, paying a continuous attention to detail, simplifying things, having self-organizing team, and also reflect and adjust. So these are the 12 principles. So you have the mindset and the values and the principles. And that is about 90% of Agile. And as a product manager, you have to learn this off by heart. You have to know, okay, well, I'm seeing the world through the mindset of an Agile team. Now, very quickly, the community, or you might think, well, how do I execute on, doing, reflect and adjust? Well, that's where the practices come along. All these practices are invented by Agile practitioners. That, for example, like things like daily stand-ups, right? That's a practice that you do. That's what you do. You follow a 50-minute routine and you gather around, talk about what I did yesterday, what I'm going to do today, and any blockers. Right. Another practice that you see are Kanban boards, right? Like having a board out there, you can visualize and see what's going on within the project team. That's a practice. And then the third practice is like user stories. That's a practice that you use to communicate the outcome of the user. And practices always come and go. There's invented every single day. So Spotify invented their way of working, which is having squads and having guilds and chapters. And there's new practices that are invented every single day. So as a PM, you have to know the practices and know how it works, but don't stick to one practice because new things are always going to come up. And then what you're going to be like, well, there is a lot of practices, right? How do I make sense of this? If I'm a brand new Agile team that never done Agile before, how do I do this? How do I start? Do I do stand-ups? Do I do Kanbans and all that stuff? That's where the frameworks comes in. Framework is a collection of Agile practices. And what they do is the Scrum process is basically picking out all the practices that works really well together, like a combo, and say, great, do daily stand-ups, do sprint planning, do estimations, do retrospective, and then you can be a great Agile team. So Scrum, Kanban, Scrumban, XP, Extreme Programming, XP, Lean Startup, whatever you call it, whatever practices and framework that's going to come through in the future, they are a framework. It's a collection of multiple Agile practices that you put together, and it helps Agile team get started. It's not the end. A lot of the time, Agile teams actually start with a Scrum framework, and then they break it, and then they mold it to what fits their company. So if you ever join a company that says we're only hardcore Scrum or we're ever hardcore Kanban, that's a sign of your team not mature in Agile, because truly mature Agile teams, they make their own. They're like, yeah, we do a bit of Scrum here, we do that here. And that's basically what a true Agile team does. They care a lot about the mindset. 90% is the mindset, the values, the principles. The 10% is really about what they do from a day-to-day basis. Now, as a product manager, that is brand new to the team. Start with the framework, right? Use a framework to teach the practice. And then once you teach the practice, you can teach the principles, and then you teach the mindset. So that's what you got to do when you want to take people on the journey. But as a practitioner, what you have to do is know the mindset really well, and then be agnostic of the different practices. Learn it, but don't stick to them, because these are going to change. They always change. Now, as 58% of team uses Scrum, 5 years down the track, something else completely different. So that's basically how you should really learn Agile properly. Look through the mindset, and then understand the process, and the tools that are that you use are like Jira and all that stuff.